Hi everyone. Today's lesson's on hydroponics. Hydroponics is defined as growing plants in a nutrient solution without the use of soil. Right, one of our major objectives this chapter was to try to grow a plant hydroponically and then again organically and compare their growth. But a lot of people have a misconception of what hydroponics actually is. A lot of people think that just throwing a seed in water and letting it grow is hydroponics, and that's not it at all. In order to be considered a hydroponic design, you have to have three requirements met. The first requirement is that you have to find a way to get the roots a constant supply of water and nutrients. So one of the last things we did when we were in school was we made a nutrient solution. Right? We took a bunch of different chemicals that plants would naturally get from the soil, and we dissolved all of those nutrients in some water. Right, now, if you just threw a seed in that jug of nutrient solution that you guys created, you would meet the this first requirement, but not the other ones, because the second requirement says that the roots need a constant supply of oxygen. Right? So if you just take that seed and throw it, in a jug of nutrient solution, yes, it gets plenty of water, it gets plenty of nutrients, but that seed would literally drown, right? Because it doesn't get a supply of oxygen. Now, there's a lot of ways that you can meet this requirement of supplying oxygen. So maybe you just take an air pump and have air bubbling through this nutrient solution, and now you're able to meet this requirement. But now the third requirement is still not met, because the third requirement says that there must be a way to support that plant. Those roots that are going to be growing out of that seed first, they need something to grip onto if there's no soil in place. Now, this can be anything. I've seen people use old Lego blocks that they have just thrown into a bucket and let the roots grow around that. Right? Normally we use something called leca, which is these little clay balls that the roots can grip onto, but they need something to support and anchor that plant down in. Now, this is the design that you guys were going to create for our experiment, where if you imagine we have two to-go soup containers. A larger one here at the bottom that holds your nutrient solution that we see here. Okay? Your seed and then eventually your plant goes in the top container, this smaller container. Instead of soil, we're going to use something called perlite, which it looks like these little white beads. And then in order to get the nutrient solution up to the plant above it, we're going to use a piece of fabric, right? And that fabric would allow the nutrient solution to wick upwards to the plant roots. And then we're able to make sure that the plant roots always get oxygen by maintaining an air gap between the nutrient solution and the roots above them. So we're going to make a very, very simple hydroponic container to grow our plants. Hydroponics can become very, very advanced, though. If we see here on the next slide, this is a system that we had in the greenhouse. So this is like a $600 system. It's able to grow 36 plants all at once, but basically you have your 20-gallon container down here that holds your nutrient solution. There's a water pump up here that sprays the roots, which are in these white boxes over here, so they're constantly getting sprayed with the nutrient solution. Now, there are some advantages to growing plants hydroponically, otherwise nobody would do it. Because you lack soil, right, you have no disease-causing organisms that are normally found in the soil. And this means that you don't need to use any herbicides, pesticides, insecticides, all of those harmful chemicals that we normally have to use to get rid of pests, we're not using anymore. Also, plants theoretically can grow faster in hydroponics because water, oxygen, and nutrients are always available to them. As long as you're doing your job to make sure that you're meeting those requirements, the plants should be able to grow to their full potential. However, there are some disadvantages, because today, most of our food is not grown hydroponically. Still, most of our food is grown organically or in the soil. And these disadvantages are that, first of all, it's expensive. to run these hydroponic systems, right? It's expensive to provide heat, it's expensive to provide light, the nutrients are expensive, and the hydroponic systems themselves are expensive. So like this system right here, it costs $600 and it grows 36 plants at once. But to plant those same 36 plants in the ground, it would cost you almost no money at all. The nutrient solutions also must be constantly adjusted and monitored, right? So you have to keep a close eye on hydroponic systems, right? Not only are you adjusting the nutrients, adding more nitrogen here and more potassium there, but you always have to make sure that everything is up and running and working properly. So like one of our biggest fears is that the power goes out in the greenhouse, right? If the power goes out, nothing gets watered. But all of our plants are planted in soil. If they don't get watered for a weekend, they're still alive because that soil is able to hold on to that moisture. But if this pump shuts down for a weekend and these roots, which are just dangling in air, don't get misted constantly, all these plants are dead by the time we return to school the following weekend. So things grow faster in hydroponic systems, but they can also die faster in hydroponic systems. Alright guys, that's it for today's lesson.